Speaking of hard, when I was preparing for this session, I did a Google image search, and I used this question: why is being a teacher so hard? And this is one of the pictures that popped up. And it was ironic, and I probably chuckled a little bit, but at the end, this is a really accurate depiction, right? In education, everyone involved in the process wears multiple hats, our students included, right? So there are times we even ask our students to be learners, teachers themselves, and leaders. So we've all mastered this process of wearing multiple hats. And speaking of that, when we're building systems, we can use the three-dimensional approach as a blueprint, right? In the three-dimensional approach, which you'll learn a little bit more about this afternoon, you'll see that students are asked to do a couple things, right? They're asked to build their knowledge. They're asked to think and act like scientists, to use those skills of professionals. And they're also asked to connect across content. Again, wearing multiple hats, sometimes sitting in those stations individually, sometimes working in tandem, but all connecting to impact student learning. As we think about this process that we're about to go through, we need to take a similar approach, right? There are times in this process where you will need to be strictly a learner. There are times in this process where you'll need to be a teacher. And there are times where you'll need to be a leader as well. There's going to be a learning curve. Just like our students are going to have when we start this process, we're going to have a learning curve as well. One of the things I really want to stress to you is that regardless of your expertise or current standing, there are times in this process where you're going to have to sit specifically in the seat of a learner and experience it authentically in order to come back to the table and make appropriate decisions when you put your leader or teacher hat back on. All right? So why is this important? No matter your job or title, we're all leaders in this process. You're here today to help impact the implementation of new science standards in your district, with the goal of creating an ecosystem that considers all voices and all stakeholders in the process, again, to improve teaching and learning and impact students. One thing that's really important to understand is leadership is largely based on perspective. There are leaders at every level of your organizations. We have teacher leaders here today. We have campus leaders here today. We have district leaders here today. Each one of you has a unique perspective on the work. And if we aren't tying that all together, then we have situations where the impact doesn't necessarily match the initial intent. I had a very interesting situation actually happen to me in my career. I went from a teacher, leader, dean type position one year to working as a district manager the next year. It was literally like I had gone into a different parallel universe, right? I didn't yet understand the language of leadership. I still mostly had a teacher's lens. So I quickly saw in that process that we had three different groups working on the same initiatives in three very different ways. We had district leaders creating initiatives and processes and handing them off to campus leaders to run and manage. We had campus leaders who were strained for time and had little knowledge about the process, trying to drive the process. Then we had teachers with varying levels of investment and success in the process, just trying to figure it out. So it's really important to understand that process, that you have these three very different levels, and if they aren't talking and communicating with each other and aligning their goals, this is where we begin to see problems in the implementation process. So, as you put on your leader hats, you're going to have 12 minutes to work with your table teams. We're going to get you to start thinking about these processes and what they look like within your district so that we can build from there for the rest of the session. For the first 2 minutes, you're going to select a recent systemic change to that your organization is going through. It could be a new project, it could be shifts in teaching and learning, it could be professional learning structures, whatever it may be. Once you've had that 2-minute jump start, we're going to give you 10 minutes to complete the chart that is being passed to you right now. All of the prompts are on there for your reference. So as you go through, you're going to consider the following questions. What kind of change took place? Who was affected and to what extent? And you want to look at every level here. How were students affected? How were teachers affected? How were campuses affected? District, community, so on. Who took a leadership role? And identify areas of leadership at each level. What went well? Who did it go well for? And why do you think it went well? And finally, what would have been helpful to know before you started the process?